Welcome back to Perfect Games, College Baseball Weekly Recap. This is the JUCO edition. I'm Brian Sikowski, your host every week, and every week I'm joined by Colt Nolinger. Colt, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Ready for the home stretch here in JUCO baseball?
We're definitely getting into it, man. May's around the corner, Grand Junction's around the corner, Enid's around the corner. We're excited about it. We're excited to see how it all shakes out. Right to the top 25 for this week. Not a whole lot of change. A lot of teams just kind of went undefeated and held serve. You see that definitely at the top there. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the same from a week ago. Walter State, Wabash Valley, Crowder, and LSU Eunice all had, troubleless weeks, so all retain their spots in the top 25. Johnson County makes a move up to number 5 this week. That's their highest rank of the season. Central Arizona, back from a little bit of a dive after being number 1 for so long. They're up 2 more spots to number 6 as they kind of reclimb that ladder. Eastern Oklahoma State down a couple spots to number 7. They had a loss this week. Number 8, Cowley out of Kansas. This is their top billing of the season so far. Colt, what are they doing that makes them so successful?
Yeah, it's really an offense that attacks you and makes you work. They've got 212 walks to only 188 strikeouts on the season, so they're going to make you throw strikes. They're going to put that pressure on the opposing team. And, Michelle ARTZBERGER there is kind of a perfect example of that, hitting, 446 on the year with 48 RBIs. But has walked 27 times, only struck out 11 times. So he kind of sets that pace for that offense there, along with BRYCE MADRON, hitting over 400, as well as David Herring also hitting over 400. And then on the mound, you got Grant Adler and Jabril EASLEY. Both made 7 starts for this club already, each, averaging over 5 innings in those starts and missing barrels with 40 strikeouts plus apiece. And then you turn it over to the bullpen, and Isaac STEBENS has been a big piece for them out of the pen, making 13 appearances so far with a .63 ERA and really getting it done out of the bullpen there for him.
Number 9, Florence-Darlington out of South Carolina, another club who just consistently has had a great year, consistently has found themselves climbing the list here for us. They're at number 9. That's their top spot of the year so far. We're going to go back to Colt. He's going to tell us how they're doing it.
Yeah, Patrick Matthews and Luke Wood kind of set the pace for that offense. They're the on-base guys, really, getting things going for them there at the top with Matthews hitting 458. Another guy, kind of like what we saw in the Cowley lineup with more walks than strikeouts. So he's going to put the pressure on the pitcher there. And then Luke Wood hitting over 400 as well. And then you got Scott Mcdonough. He kind of brings the juice to that lineup with 12 home runs. Slugging over 700 with an OPS over 1,200. So it kind of brings the juice to that lineup there. And then, you turn it over on the mound, you got a guy like Hunter Parks who, a lot of people like is maybe one of the top JUCO arms in the country. He's turned in 21 innings for them with an ERA of 1.25, 24 Ks and holding opponents to a batting average of 128. So kind of lived up to the hype for him so far this season.
Rounding out the top 10 is San Jack out of Texas, down just a couple spots. Lost a game to McLennan, who's somewhat on the bounce back after a rough start, as well as dropping one to Blinn last week, but still in a really good spot there at number 10. A couple more highlights throughout the top 25. Lansing CC out of Michigan. It feels like we talk about them every week, but at 22-1, it's kind of hard not to. They're up to number 11 overall. That's their biggest, highest spot of the year. Northwest Florida State and Chipola, 2 of the perennial powerhouses in all of JUCO baseball, let alone just in the panhandle of Florida. They've played each other a bunch over the last couple weeks. They split a 4-gamer last week. Northwest took both of the 2 games this week. That has them up a couple spots. Obviously just a great series there between 2 consistently great teams. Down the board a little bit, we're going to welcome back Florida Southwestern to the top 25. They've been kind of in and out this year, a couple different times, just kind of an inconsistent performance club, but 37-13 coming off a loud week. They're back in. And special shouts out to Indian Hills out of Iowa, who took a series from Iowa Western this past weekend. This past week, rather. They are kind of just on the outside looking in of the top 25. They keep playing well. You will assuredly see them in that next week. Moving over to some more specific stat stuff, Colt and I are going to kind of do a watch list of sorts as far as the players of the year candidates go. We're just kind of going to touch on a few bats this week. Next week, we'll do sort of a watch list for pitcher of the year nominations type of stuff. And who knows? Guys we probably aren't even going to talk about will probably end up being the winners at the end of the year. But right now, quickly, this is what the loud numbers say. Have to start at Wabash Valley. They're number 2 in the country, as we've talked about. And we've talked about these two guys before in this space, but they're top 2 hitters. Xavier Pinales, he's leading the country in hitting at 527. He's played every game. He leads the team in at-bats and is still hitting 527. He's 49 for 50 in stolen base attempts. He's walked more than he's struck out. The overall OPS is 1325, and that's without a ton of power. He has no home runs yet. So just incredible bat-to-ball skills there, incredible speed, incredible base running. And right behind him, Frelin Mignetti. That's the middle infield there at Wabash, Pinales and Mignetti. Frelin is hitting 492, just a little bit under that of Pinales, but he's got 7 bombs. The overall OPS is higher. He's walked twice as much as he's struck out, and he's added 14 stolen bases to the register as well. Those are 2 guys at one of the best programs in the country who are performing out of their minds, and definitely on the short list right now for JUCO Player of the Year. Colt?
Yeah, and really kind of a similar situation we got at Walters State with Alberto Zuna and Jerry Hammonds. Right now, both tied for the league, or the tied for the lead in home runs there in the country with 19 apiece. And but it's not just the long ball that really puts these two kind of on this watch list. It's, Azuna hitting 469 with Hammonds hitting 429. You're talking about two of the premier power bats in junior college baseball across the country, and both guys are within 10 hits of the national hit leader. So, I mean, they're doing it with the long ball. They're consistent performers in that offense, and definitely dangerous bats, and 2 of the more dangerous bats right there in the country. So definitely guys to keep an eye on there.
And we've talked about 4 players from our top 2 teams right now. So now we're going to go on to number 3. Hard not to have a discussion about potential player of the year without talking about Logan Chambers from Crowder and what he's doing. He's got 78 hits. That's tied for the most hits of anyone in the country. And he's doing it with power too. He's hitting 441 overall, and 39 extra base hits. That means half of his hits have gone for extra bases. That's a pretty good percentage as far as I understand math. The OPS overall is over 1,300, and he's performing in what is a strong league for obviously one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, and then we look at Jordan Coffey as well at Northern Oklahoma Eden. 30 RBIs in 28 games, so he's driving over a run a game for them with 14 home runs. While catching for them, and with an OPS of 1,395. Definitely, some loud stats there, especially for a catcher. Maybe a position that we rely a little bit more on defense, but definitely a threat with the bat there. And a couple other names to keep an eye on amongst the Division II level there. You got Tate Parker and Graham Crawford at Pearl River, 2 guys we've touched on in the past. And then at LSU Eunice, you've got Jack Merrifield, a guy who's hitting 450 for them, kind of a real table setter, sophomore there, with 63 hits on the season and slugging 620. So, some other Division II names to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously you talked about a couple of the premier Division II clubs, and obviously two of the ones that we have ranked super highly. But with that being said, we're going to come to the end here of this week's JUCO Weekly. Next week, we'll touch on some pitchers as far as pitcher of the year candidates. We will expand the player of the year candidates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all free game, and we're looking forward to another great week of JUCO baseball. For Colt, I'm Brian. We'll see you next week.